What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 7 here bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger. This is for episode 9 now. Whoops. 9. Yes. So we are 9 episodes in. Personally, I really like this episode. It was a good episode overall. The ideas were pretty nice. The episode is called Burn Bright Dragon Master, obviously referring to Shao, or the commander for the season. Really cool episode, gives a lot of backstory on who he is and a little bit about certain characters in his life. We'll get into that, and also explains more about how he is able to be how he's able to use the abilities of Rio Violet. How is that a thing? Because obviously there are 9 Kyurangers. Q refers to like 9 Rangers, in other words. That's people have been going with. So let's get started here. Burn Bright, Dragon Master. The episode continues exactly where episode 8 ended. What happens is that during this is that at the beginning of the episode, Rio Commander basically tells Lucky, Hammy, and I want to say Spada to go and free Garu, Raptor, and Stinger from being chained up and just retreat. The thing is that they do go and free them, but Spada is the only one that decides to rather than go with the other 5 back to the Orion, decides to go and join Rio Commander because he notices something in his speech before he tells him to leave, which is that there's not much time, you need to go. And the reason why that's important, not that much time, is because he basically comes to the conclusion, which is actually right, is the fact that the reason why there isn't much time is because Rio Commander himself can't sustain his ability to be in the form of Rio Violet for very long. So for that matter, he realizes this, and he doesn't want the commander to fall and die in battle. So Spada returns back to fight. The thing is that the commander was like, "Why did you not retreat like I asked you to?" And he says, he's like, "Because it wouldn't be right, and I'd rather protect you." And so what happens is that they end up fighting together. And I believe what also ends up happening is that not only do they fight together, but they like he ends up transforming. And the thing is, the commander ends up losing his transformation suddenly, but eventually Spada gets captured by Madako and Ikagan, and this then is followed by them retreating with him and the commander having to return back to the base. Thing is that back at the base, they end up discussing things before the commander comes in about, wait, the commander is able to be one of us, and that was like the big topic at the time. So what happens is that they also end up communicating with obviously Champ, Balance, and Nagare, who are still, they just got the Pixis Kyutama, which was something that they got in episode 8. But then what happens is that they end up overhearing the story that the commander says before one little incident happens where Shotaro, as you may remember, was trying to join the Kyurangers and be one of them. He ends up asking the commander, "Can I join you guys? Can I join you guys?" And he's like, "Well, you have to beat me in a game of paper, globe, scissors." Obviously, referring to the fact that like the Kyutama are like supposed to be globes, so it makes sense. But he ends up losing. And so then what happens is that the commander basically explains the story about how he was able to become Rio Violet, and how the idea is that yes, he has limited time to be able to use the abilities of Rio Violet. And what happened is that he was part of the rebellion trying to work to find the Kyurangers, and he ended up using, like, the ones that they use are change Kyutama. The ones that he uses is skill Kyotama, which he managed to somehow make it work so that he was able to transform, because at the time there was no Kyurangers. Because of this factor, he ended up being similar to Lucky in the sense is that he would, go out and fight or whatever. And the idea is that, and I might be kind of linking things a little bit weird, but basically, due to the fact that he didn't gain the abilities, like he didn't have a regular changed Kyotama, his ability to sustain transformation is fairly limited. He has a time limit for how long he can sustain it. And because of this, he was very reckless, like a lot of them, and he had to report to the Supreme Big Bear Commander, which is the commander that goes above Sho. And the thing is that he was very reckless, and he would get into fights or whatever, but due to his ineffective abilities or whatever, he wasn't able to, be as effective as compared to the regular Kyurangers. And at one point when he ended up, escaping Ikigan and Madako when he ended up having to fight them after being untransformed due to the fact that he wasn't able to sustain his abilities. But the thing is that what's later explained is that when he speaks to Lucky, is the idea that the Supreme Commander was someone that tried to watch over him, similar to how Lucky is so willing to just go into battle and not care, willing to ignore orders. Similar to all of them, really, but especially Lucky and Spada and even Stinger a little bit. Well, I don't know about Stinger, but you get the point. Basically, the idea is that the Supreme Commander ended up losing his life saving Sho from being destroyed when battling Ikigai and Madako, because eventually when he was using his skill Kyotama, he was doing well, but the thing is that the dark matter was decided to hire some assassins to kill off Rio Commander, which obviously he survived. So this ends up leading to the Supreme Commander having to save him, because otherwise he would have died in the battle against Madako and Ikigan initially, and unfortunately the Supreme Commander died, but Sho lived. So that's basically what happens. It's a little bit weird. I'm probably saying it a few times, a little strange, but you get the point. So because of this factor, he Lucky still wants to join Rio Commander in their fight against Ikigai and Madako. And what happens is that the commander's like, if you want to join me, you'll have to win the game of paper, globe, scissors. Lucky does win, but the commander uses globe, and the globe is basically just a fist and punches him and knocks him out. He could have probably just been really weak, and that's probably why he could have just been really injured or whatever, because obviously a punch shouldn't have done as much damage as it did to him. Anyway, he ends up going to deal with Madako. He ends up going to rescue Spada, and what happens is that when he goes to rescue Spada, he ends up breaking the chains using his gun mode on them, and Spada ends up joining him, and they do transform when fighting Madako and Ikigan. The thing is that he's still in this incomplete mode, but eventually the other 5 do show up. So, Hammy, Lucky, Garu, Stinger, and Raptor do show up. If you're wondering where Champ, Balance, and Nagare are, still dealing with getting back to the Orion. Unfortunately, they were also very injured from the previous episode, so that's another reason why they're really not focused here. But they get a little bit of a hi, I'm here, kind of a few moments here and there in the episode. Anyway, what ends up happening is that after they show up, they all try to, basically he's like, we're not going to give up on you. We care too much about you. I know that you wanted to be one of us and join us. Because that's the thing. He wanted to be a Kyuranger. He wanted to be someone that could fight alongside them. And the thing was that he was trying his best by unlocking the ability to use the skill Kyutsuma. But the thing is that they all show the determination and desire for him to work with them. And suddenly, Ryu Voyager shows up. Real Voyager is sort of like Shenlong from Dragon Ball Z, if you know Dragon Ball Z at all. Similar in the sense that it's like, what do you wish to have happen, Xiaolong? And the thing is that it's funny because Xiaolong, Shou Rambo or whatever, what was I saying, Xiaolong? Shou Rambo and Shenlong, interesting. But anyway, so he ends up talking to Real Voyager, basically saying, I wish to fight alongside the legendary 9 Kyurangers. At that point, what happens is he ends up gaining the ability to, he ends up gaining a new form for him to power up in, which is still Rio Commander, but in this case, the difference is that he ends up getting the robes, which basically power him up and also get rid of his time limit. So rather than being forced to fight for only a certain amount of time and getting injured once he runs out of it, he can sustain it, he can battle with it, and he also now has Rio Voyager, which means he can summon his own Voyager as well. Because he didn't have a Voyager initially, that's the thing. He only was able to transform. So that's important to note. So what happens is that the 7 of them end up fighting together. They do end up also, Ikigai and Medako do end up summoning or 2 Magistrates to fight alongside them, which are Mecha Soyo Endeavor and Mucha Soyo Endeavor, which are basically recycled Soyo Endeavors from previous episodes. Like, I think they were in the last episode or something like that, because they look exactly the same. Anyway, yeah, the 2 of them end up showing up, and they look pretty similar to prior Magistrates from, I think, the last episode, and they end up fighting, and in the meantime, Rio Commander ends up getting to fight Ikigai and Medako, and there's like an awesome song that's playing in the background that's supposed to be his theme, which I love it. It's a really cool theme. But yeah, he gets to fight them, and does really well against Ikigai and Medako. But eventually, Ikigai and Medako do decide to make the 2 Soyo Endeavors get larger, and they then have to summon their Voyagers. Initially, what happens is that Rio Commander ends up summoning his Voyager to fight against the 2 Magistrates, which are just Soyo Endeavors basically, and what happens is that they do pretty well, and then eventually the 6 end up summoning theirs. They end up forming Kurino, and then I think it's like initially Garo's the one that's like the one that's left out of the combination, so that's obviously Ukami Voyager. Anyway, so what ends up happening is that they end up fighting them, because like Rio Commander defeats one, and then they defeat the other one, and then they do like a giant attack together, which is like a final attack with the 2. Unfortunately, they don't have Ryu, Voyager, and Kurino combine, but that will happen in due time. You have to remember that we still don't even have Kugami. We don't even have Kugami and Ogami Voyager, which we should be getting in the next episode, I'm thinking, if not the following. So anyway, what ends up happening is that all that occurs, they win the battle. Still, Medako and Ikigai are living. They do manage to escape, so they're not entirely destroyed, I believe. I could be a little bit mistaken, but I believe that's right. Anyway, Rio Commander, very cool character. He does a lot of really awesome moves in this show, and eventually they return back to the base. Shotaro again is trying to, get join the team. But the thing is that the commander's like, not like, you can't really do it or whatever. And the thing is that also you have to remember that he says like this nasty thing about Hammy about like how she's a granny, similar to what she said in an earlier episode. It kind of annoys her. It's funny. But the thing is that the commander also says like, we shall now be called the Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger, which is a funny nod because it's sort of like because there's 10 of them now. They wanted to they're making that joke, and they say like, now we're just gonna stay with Kyuranger. The reason why it's funny is also because Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger, which is the season that's based off of, which is the dinosaur season that people know, which America got as the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is it's just kind of funny. Anyway, that does end up happening, which is just kind of a little silly. But anyway, the commander ends up, speaking and trying to act all cool about like how I hope to do right by you. I hope to do right with my life. Now since you saved me back then, Supreme Commander. And the thing is that like they're all running around and like they bump into him, and they're just like, it's like, you can't give me a minute to act cool. And so then the episode basically ends. It's a fun episode. I'm sure I'm missing little bits. I forgot to also mention the fact that the other three, so they end up giving the commander the Pixis, Kyotama, Champ, Balance, and Nagare. So all 10 of them are together, and Shotaro, which if Shotaro joins, obviously, will make the 11th member. Anyway, that's basically what the episode entails. They do end up showing in the preview what episode 10 is going to look like, which actually looks pretty cool. It's going to actually introduce Shotaro to gaining the 2 Kyotama, so he can become the big brother form and the big bear and the little bear forms. Obviously, Shotaro, little bear, and what ends up happening is that apparently the ghost of the Supreme Commander comes back, and the idea is that the ghost of the Supreme Commander will inhabit the Big Bear form, since obviously he is Supreme Commander Big Bear. So yes, Shotaro and him will share the abilities, and that will be very interesting to see how it will work. But yes, he is a ghost. Not exactly clear as to how that's going to work, if he's going to somehow be revived or what, or if he's just going to remain a ghost that will only exist at certain points. Not very clear. We also end up seeing that I guess Shotaro has like a blue-haired form or something. Like a sky blue hair form. It's weird. But that's what episode 10 looks like. I don't think they showed any proof of necessarily him getting his Voyagers, although I'm sure they'll probably be in there. If they are, then that'll be interesting. I'm sure if anything, we might be getting either the combination for the Rio Tetsai combination either next episode or the following one, which will be the other major mecha. And eventually they should be able to combine into one. There also recently was the third quarter toy catalogs for Kyuranger, which showed off that there will be a Ho-Ho Soldier, which it looks like another red, and also Shishi Red's Orion Master Form or something like that, which actually people were thinking was the White Ranger for the season. I don't think so. It looks like it's probably like the one that looks like the White Ranger is going to be a powered up form, and the other one will probably be another Ranger that's just another red. Similar to how last season had like the other red, which was like, bird or whatever. Seems like that. Could be mistaken though. Obviously, it's a little soon to say because Ho-Ho Soldier isn't coming till July, so don't expect any information about that till like around the 20s or so before I'll even really talk about that. And then like the Shishi Red Orion form doesn't happen till September, so that will probably be like in the 30s or 40s, probably. Well, more likely the 30s, maybe late 20s or so. I honestly don't know for a fact. But yes, those things were shown off, which look cool, and a lot more Kyotama are coming. And they've also shown off Cerberus Kyotama, which is going to be another movie Kyuranger mecha. Not Ranger, just mecha. So that is interesting to note. Personally, I just in general really like this episode, and I can't wait to see how Shotaro will be with the team, and it'll be interesting to see if he'll be a regularly occurring character or if he is like gonna be less common or whatever. Because also same with the commander, I don't know how often he'll be showing up with them. Obviously the show is based off of the 9 of them, so we'll see. I'm sure that they will probably go back to the Q-Let. I'm not necessarily sure if it'll be next episode or in the next couple of episodes we'll see the Q-Let return. Maybe wondering why I'm even bringing it up, just because it it seems like a pretty common thing now that they'll put that in. So we'll see. I'll know your guys' opinions though. What did you guys think of this episode? Did you enjoy it? Do you like Rio Commander? Do you think he's cool? Which Kyuranger is your favorite? Comment below, and I'll see you guys next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 1, and goodbye, guys.